the 10 interview questions for a Scrum Master that are, if you go over these 10 only, okay, you will definitely succeed your interview. Now, that doesn't mean if you succeed an interview, if you answered to all of them, if you answered everything right, that doesn't mean you're gonna get an offer. We need to know that. Even if we sometimes feel that we did very good, we will not get all the interviews, we will not get all the offers, okay? Not even me. Even me, I'm not like maybe 60% of all the interviews, I get an offer. Not more than that. Okay? And that people consider it very high. Like a 60% of interviews I get an offer, they really find it very high. Okay? Usually it's a 20, once you are very good with interviews, usually it's a 20-25% of offers of interviews you get an offer. Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so very quickly, the 10 interview questions, I wrote them here in front of me. So first question, your team has missed the last three sprints goals. What do you do here? Another question is, your product owner is always busy and doesn't attend ceremonies. Here, what do you do? Another question about stakeholders. Now, stakeholders constantly bring urgent requests during the sprint. How do you handle it? Another question, question number 4. One developer is slowing the team down. Here, what do you do? How do you help? Question number 5. Team or two team members are in constant conflict. How do you help them? Question number 6. Your team follows Scrum events, but nothing improves. How do you help your team improve? Question number 7. Leadership is asking for predictable delivery. How do you respond to that? And how do you help your team become predictable? Question number 8. Your team doesn't believe in Agile. What do you do here? Number 9. Your team is blocked by other teams. How do you help them with blockers? And number 10. Your team delivers features, but stakeholders say there's no value. How do you help your team deliver only values? Okay? Seriously, if you focus on these 10 questions, you're already good for an offer. Okay? Now, those questions though, you will not be able to answer them if you don't have, the foundation. If you don't know how to answer what are the values of Scrum, okay? What are the ceremonies? How do you facilitate a ceremony? All right? I don't want to go over those kind of theory questions with you guys. I want that you do that by yourself. And here we go over what you're really going to get asked in an interview. Now, you need to know that there is no wrong answers, right? But there is better answers. And those kind of questions, it's for them to really see how you behave in those kind of scenarios, because those happens all the time. And most of the time I also start with, well, a Scrum Master should never wait 3 sprints to start looking at why we're missing sprint goals. But let's say we missed 3 sprints goals. What do I do is I would actually, with the team, look out at our capacity. Okay? And let's bring down the capacity, or or the load of the sprint, not at 100% of our capacity, but let's try 50% of our capacity. We load the sprint at 50% and we create sprint goals for this 50% only. Okay? So we can, because as a Scrum Master, I want my team to start having a winning mindset. Okay? So loading at 50%, we bring those stories, and when we start the sprint, they will focus on those only. Okay, and I will help them only to focus on the stories we added this sprint. Okay, even if someone do not have any story to work on, well, they're going to work in peer review or pair programming together to make sure that what we have, we're going to finish them. Okay, so we don't go and pull new stuff. We make sure that the team helps each other on the same goal and finish what we have. Okay, so that first sprint, the team should of course succeed. They're going to do their demo in front of stakeholders, and stakeholders will be happy about that because they will get what they expected. Now, second sprint, I will guide the team to now load 65% of their capacity. Same thing, we want to have a winning mindset, but also practicing the team to work together and focusing on their sprint goal. Okay, so when we do not load at 100%, the team is not nervous, okay, is not overwhelmed. They will work together to finish what they have in their plates. Okay, another sprint is successful. The stakeholders were in the demos and are happy with whatever they got. And then third sprint, we go with 80%. We load with 80% of their capacity. And I try as a Scrum Master not to load their sprints with over 80%. And this way, the team will be able to deliver whatever they commit in their sprints. Okay? Awesome. Now, obviously, in an interview, you should not take 10 minutes to answer one question. Say it a little bit faster, but I started with whatever James explained in only one sentence, and then I had to explain loading and capacity and winning mindset, and stakeholders looking were in the demos and we were winning, and then we loaded a little bit more, and then third sprint a little bit more, and then I capped it at 80%. Okay, those are the words and the keywords that they want to hear. All right, second question. Your product owner is always busy and doesn't attend ceremonies. What do you do here? However, I wanted to say something, okay? And this is true for every answer you give. What I want to tell you is really important is that I want you to let the interviewer feel that you have a lot of experience. How? By actually saying, oh, this problem always happens with me. Okay, you can start with something like that. Okay, actually, you really should say something like that. The first question we went through, the team has missed the 3 sprint goals. You can say something like, oh, 8 months ago, my team was exactly struggling like this, and this is how I helped them. Okay, this is key, by the way. It will give you maybe 30% more chances to get an offer. Okay, so my answer can start with, oh yes, this kind of problem with product owners always happens, especially when my product owner has multiple hats. One time at whatever example I give them as a company. So one time, by the way, a product owner when I worked at Bank TD, okay, my product owner was also a manager for, I don't know, okay, manager for other product owners. And he was very busy. Because of that, he wouldn't be able to attend all of our ceremonies. The problem was the stories that we have or the features that comes to our plates we're missing the definition of ready. So when my team start to slice them into stories, and most of the time the product owner is not there, they miss acceptance criterias. So when they work on something in a sprint, in a demo, or in when the product owner wants to approve a story to put it done, realizes that the story is not complete even after having a pull request and putting it into staging and all of that. So we had a big problem here. This is where I came in, I chimed in and get with the product owner and looking at the root cause with the product owner on why he couldn't join us for all of the ceremonies. We get into the root cause and we created a plan where he will try to be more available because the team were missing deliveries because of not ready stories. So we tackled this first. Okay? And once we tackled this, the team was able to deliver and be predictable. Question number 3. Now it's about stakeholders. Stakeholders constantly bring urgent requests during the sprint. How do you handle that? Now, for this kind of question, I need to show them that this happens all the time with me. I experienced it. So, oh yes, bringing urgent requests from stakeholders, that happens all the time. Okay? So, basically this is how I deal with this, okay? And we put it into an agreement with stakeholders. So, yes, me as a Scrum Master, I try my best to shield the team and protect them from those kind of requests, like last minute requests, because we started the sprint, we loaded the sprint, we know the capacity, and we have sprint goals. Now, obviously, I put in place that the stakeholders talk with the product owner about the new requests, and the product owner is able to prioritize that. Okay, now first thing first, product owner and the team will trade off, right? If we add a 3 story point story, we can take out a 3 story point story. Okay, that's because the product owner can do that. All right. Now, however, what I also do as a Scrum Master is, and especially with teams that always get frequent urgent requests, okay, so based on experience, based on the nature of every team, in some teams where we know already we're gonna get surprises and urgent requests from stakeholders, we always, like, I put in place like 20% buffer just for urgent requests. And for that buffer, we don't need a trade-off. The product owner get the requests, talk about it with the team, size it, the team size it, and we put it in the sprint right away. And we make sure that it's not more than 20%. Because if it's more than 20%, now we have to go back to trade with other stories. Okay, so this is how the best answer for this question, because you showed that you understand what a Scrum Master does, you have experience with that, but also what kind of solution you have if they insist on having urgent requests. Okay, so please everyone, study those answers, okay, and plug them into whatever career you had. Okay, for example, like I just gave my answer, you just plug in the name of the company or the name of the team. You tell them, yeah, this is what happened with my team. My team's name was this at that company, and this is how I did it. Okay, let them feel that you have the experience. This is key. All right, and study those answers even if they never happened with you. Okay, it's okay, study them. And by the way, I want to tell you that when you study them and you do interviews and you got an offer and you get into that type of situation, you will be able to handle those situations. Okay, because you know exactly what to do. Okay, awesome. Now, other than those 10 questions we're gonna go over with, there are other very important questions. We might practice them a little bit later, but the answers of the questions are very much personalized. So something like, how did you become a Scrum Master? This question I always love to ask, by the way, because I want to understand the story behind what were you doing and how you became a Scrum Master with experience today. Okay? This is one of the questions that I always ask in the beginning. Another question that I also always ask is, and outside those 10 questions, is why are you looking to change your job? Okay? Why are you applying here today? You're working as a Scrum Master. Why do you want to change today? Okay, and this I always, the answer for that question should be studied. Okay, and everyone here should answer the same way. Okay, so perhaps we can go over it next time, but or maybe later, but everyone can give the same answer. But how did you become a Scrum Master? This is a little bit different for every person. Now, another question, very important question. One developer is slowing the team down. What do you do? How do you help the team member? So let me answer this. So, however, James, one thing is when you start answering, show me that this happened with you. Okay? Your answer is very good, okay? Is perfect, but show me that this happened not long time ago with you. Okay? So you can say something. So you can start with, so the question, let me go back to the question. So one developer is slowing the team down. What do you do? You can start with, yes, this, by the way, I have a team. Like that was 4 months ago. I had a new team as a Scrum Master 4 months ago, and they were all senior developers, but only one junior developer. Okay? And everyone was already working that company. By the way, the company is Beneva, where we work in insurance. It's an insurance company, and the senior developers were working there for over 10, 15 years each, same place. But that new junior developer was not there longer than 3, 4 years. So the thing is, he he was slower than others, okay? And we talked about it in a retrospective. So what I did is, I first of all had a one-on-one with that individual to understand if there is something happening with him. Is it something that, I don't know, maybe personal, okay? Maybe something in the work, right? In the job. So from the one-on-one, he told me that most of the time the stories are not clear for him. So the user stories were not enough for him to understand the end-to-end coding. The others had no problems. Because they have a lot of experience. They understand the business behind what they're doing, but not that junior developer. So I heard that from him from a one-on-one. So what I did is I called a meeting, a problem solving workshop with the 5 whys technique, to find out why this individual only, those stories were not clear for him and clear for you guys. Okay? So we got into the root cause that, well, because the other senior people were so much involved with the business that they understand, and they don't need a lot more clarification than what the product owner put in place in a user story. So what we did is, the team decided to better refine the stories and making sure to have all the acceptance criteria in place, okay? And they will not put that story ready for a sprint until they go over all of the definition of ready of that story. So this is what happened, and 2 sprints later, that junior person can deliver as much as the senior ones. By the way, I was also exactly where you guys are here today, like at the same place where I never had a Scrum Master role before, and I was interviewing for Scrum Master roles. Okay? And you know that it took me 23 interviews to get one offer. Okay? But after 10 interviews, I'm answering like I actually really lived it, even though I didn't have any experience. But in my head, and because of the many interviews that I had, it's like I feel, not only them, but I feel that I actually lived it as a Scrum Master. Next question. So, two team members are in constant conflict. How do you help them solve their conflict? Of course, we start with, oh yeah, conflicts with two. By the way, the one that I still remember last year in one of my teams, I had there were two men that were always in conflict, and we can see the tension between both of them. Okay? So, and both of them were very experienced as developers. Their conflicts became heated and not healthy anymore. They started to like say things that are not respectful. So right away, as a Scrum Master, I got the whole team together, okay, and went back to our working agreement to look at what our values were. One of them, because we were a Scrum team, one of them is respect. and we went over what respect really means as a team and why we need to be respectful. Now, after going over this, of course, this doesn't mean it will solve the problem, but we went into going over the root cause of why we have a conflict. After going over that session of looking out why we have a conflict between these two, it it is actually was both of them were coming from very different culture, and each one of them were understanding the other in a very different way and the wrong way what the other person was trying to say. So understanding the other was broken. And here we put in place what the understanding means between team members, like when we say something, what it means, okay? And we put in place also, we added into a working agreement the things that people don't like to happen. For example, after 3 o'clock, don't call me right away from Teams. Send me a chat first. Okay? Send me a chat if I am available. If I respond, you can call me. You know? So stuff like that were like different culture. They interpreted in a different way. One was acceptable about this, the other no. That person found it rude because in his culture that means it's rude. So this we get into a consensus to understanding and putting it into our working agreement. And like that, it's not only both of them that we we like, let's say, solve the conflict. It's for the whole team. Okay, so again, a story, i I show that I have experience, it happened with me, and I telling a story, and this is how I handled it. And again, no answer is a bad answer, but better answers, okay, will show the interviewers that how we can handle, how we can solve problems. Okay, awesome.